Are you afraid of God?
No. But I'm afraid of you.
The year is 2013. Breaking Bad is over. Miley Cyrus just released the iPhone 5S is the world's craziest smartphone and a new trend known as taking selfies. Most importantly, we are nearing the end of a console generation with only a handful of games left to release before all companies focus their attention to next gen. One of the most beloved franchises of this previous generation was Bioshock, an action-adventure horror that swept through the basements and man caves alike around the world with its brilliant story, brutal and exhilarating gameplay, and seemingly endless lore and world building. Then, in 2013, we are greeted with the third entry in this treasured series. Ditching the corrupted underwater metropolis of Rapture, our sights are set to the sky in a seemingly less tainted floating haven of Columbia. You play as Booker DeWitt, a former Pinkerton agent in 1912 charged with finding and retrieving a young woman named Elizabeth in hopes of clearing a debt so you can live out your days as a free man. But it comes to no surprise when things start getting weird, then dangerous, then downright chaotic as the city begins to crumble and society shows its true face. If you're not familiar with Bioshock Infinite, then, well, better late than never, I suppose. So a full console generation behind us, how does this action-packed, mind-bending joyride stack up nearly 7 years after its release? I'm Connor from Grade A Studios, and I'm here to say that Bioshock is, to this day, still one of the most beautiful and impactful games of all time.
Attention. Attention.
Just stay calm.
5,000 feet. 10,000 feet. 15,000 feet. Hallelujah.
By the third entry in a franchise, the formula becomes pretty clear, and while that's not a bad thing, there's a chance that it can feel a bit too safe and familiar. We know the world, we know the mechanics, and many of us probably feel like we know what to expect, which is why it's such a shocking revelation when Bioshock Infinite changed pretty much everything the franchise was known for, except for the really fast-paced action, superhero-like gameplay. We had new characters, a new location, new political and religious themes, new powers known as vigors, and an entirely new means of traversing the sprawling level designs. It felt fresh and new, and definitely still recognizable as a Bioshock game. The most memorable aspect of the game, for me anyway, it's gotta be the story. The concept starts out very simple. Find Elizabeth and bring her to New York to pay off a debt. It's not complicated, similar to how Lord of the Rings isn't very complex. Sam and Frodo need to take the Ring of Power to Mount Doom. Simple, but presented in an epic way on a grand scale. The same goes for Bioshock Infinite. The scale of the story starts small, but it doesn't take long for you to be thrust into a world of epic proportions. The game plays out a lot like a Christopher Nolan film, actually, one of my favorite director, by the way, with twists and turns and a climax that'll make your head spin. The story of the game came before the likes of Westworld, the Twin Peaks reboot, The Man in High Castle, Stranger Things, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and so many others with deep, complex, reality-altering questions. Of course, these types of questions have been asked in cinema and everything before, but in a video game, it was just so new and so unexpected, and not many AAA games had really ventured into this territory, especially not mainstream first-person action games. It's more of like an indie kind of thing. Not to say that these didn't exist, because I'm sure they did, but it was the first game that really exposed me to it as a gamer, as I was a little bit younger when this game came out. This game definitely yields some of the most memorable plot twists and character moments from the past decade by far. The story progresses in a natural and organic way that doesn't feel like an escort mission. Go from point A to point B while protecting a certain asset, that one mission that's in every game and we all usually hate it. It's always tedious, but in Bioshock Infinite, it doesn't treat Elizabeth like a pawn or just a delivery. It makes her a total badass, and she adds so much heart and soul to the game that I really wasn't expecting.
Hello. Hey! Knock it off! Stop it! Will you stop it? I'm not here to hurt you.
The performances here are all top-notch as well. Nowadays, everybody knows Troy Baker, but this was a time before The Last of Us when he was Joel. And he crushes it this game as Booker DeWitt, as a character you don't really see because it's first person, but you still feel his presence, and he does a really great job of emoting. The real standout, though, has got to be Courtney Draper, who kills it as Elizabeth, blending the emotions of childlike innocence and a stone-cold badass brilliantly. She grows so much throughout the game, and it's a pleasure to watch. Even the side cast of characters are really fun and they all do a fantastic job and they're very memorable as well.
Come on, let me through. Heads.
Or tails.
Heads. Told you. I never find that as satisfying as I'd imagined.
Chin up, there's always next time.
I suppose there is.
But this wouldn't be a Bioshock game without the creative and brutal kills you can perform while you're hyped up on superpower energy Kool-Aid drinks that alter your metaphysical biochemistry, granting you inhuman abilities that somehow don't phase anybody and are the totes norm in this floating shit show in the sky. Jeez, these vigors are called, allow you to cause all types of torment on your foes, whether it be handling a flock of bloodthirsty crows, bending water like Aquaman, or even possessing an enemy to murder his friends before unceremoniously shooting himself, because, you know, why not? Allies are fun. Do as I say, puppet.
As you wish.
This, blended with a wide variety of weapons ranging from powerful hand cannons to rocket launchers, keep things very fresh. With only 2 weapon slots available, you won't have an unlimited supply of resources at your fingertips, so when you run out of ammo, you'll quickly need to find a new gun or things will go south very fast. That is unless Elizabeth restocks you, 'cause she can, and it's freaking awesome. Seriously, she's literally the ideal companion in any game. Running low on health, she'll toss you a medkit. Out of ammo, here, just take some more. Love money? She's got some spare change for you. Toss a coin to your booker, oh valley of plenty. Anyway, enough of that. The combos and possibilities are endless as you plow through waves of ragdoll-like NPCs. Oh, and how can I forget the skyhook? This made-no-sense physics-defying melee weapon adds a brilliant new form of traversal on sky rails that allow you to hop on and off and perform devastating finishing moves on vulnerable foes. On top of that, you can trigger really gnarly finishing moves that don't grant you any sort of bonus in combat, but they're just filthy and satisfying. There really isn't a skill system per se, but you can buy weapon modifications and upgrade your vigors from the game's various vending machines. It's simple, but very effective. The game isn't extremely long, so anything more would have been overkill in my opinion, but what they did add is necessary, and it adds when you're really progressing throughout the story. You also have different pieces of gear that you can equip to add little bonuses to your character, such as increasing weapon magazine sizes or setting enemies on fire when you melee strike them. With the right combination, these gear pieces can stack up to create some pretty overpowered builds, but I guess that's the point. It amazes me more so that after all this time, the game feels as smooth as it does. I've gotten back and I've played games from the past, and many old titles are fun, kind of, to revisit, but they often feel really clunky and really unpolished, and it's a total turnoff for me. But Bioshock feels really good, and while there could have been more enemy variety, more melee executions, and gotten a graphics facelift for current generation, the game is undeniably beautiful. Columbia is the exact opposite of Rapture, but still has a similar vibe. The bright colors and environments mesh well with the game's conflicting atmosphere and religious tones. It's often quite beautiful, but corrupted, capturing the 20th century boardwalk flapper vibe very well. Visually, the game looks really good for being from 2013, and as I said, typically old graphics turn me off, but it didn't really break the immersion this time around, and the aforementioned performances and gorgeous vistas more than make up for any of it. So yeah, Bioshock Infinite gets a gold star in my book. We haven't really incorporated a rating system yet on our channel because I find ratings kind of undermine all the various points we brought up during the video, but needless to say, Bioshock as a whole is a genre-defining franchise and Infinite is no exception. It's free this month on PlayStation Plus, and if you're looking into it and you want a new, insanely fun action game to sink your teeth into, don't overlook it. While you don't need to have played the first 2 Bioshock games to enjoy this one, I'd highly recommend it. The trilogy as a whole is a really good time. But that's it for this video. My question to anyone watching is, what's your favorite action or horror game? Let us know in the comments below, and we will catch you next time. Peace.